From Washington, the McLaughlin Group, the American original. For over 3 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
Issue 1, grading Hillary.
I think Hillary will go down as one of the finest Secretary of States we've had. It has been a great collaboration over the last 4 years. I'm going to miss her. Wish she was sticking around, but she has logged in so many miles I can't begrudge her wanting to take it easy for a little bit. But I want the country to appreciate just what an extraordinary role she's played during the course of my administration, and a lot of the successes we've had internationally have been because of her hard work.
What a difference 18 months made. In January of 2013, when President Obama and outgoing Secretary of State Hillary Clinton shared that unique 60 Minutes interview, President Obama's approval ratings on foreign policy was 49%. His handling of foreign affairs was one of the pillars of his presidency. Fast forward to this summer, as ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, overran Iraqi forces defending the Iraq city of Mosul. President Obama's foreign policy approval rating was routed by that onslaught, dropping to a 36% positive, with 58% disapproving of Mr. Obama's foreign policy. His former Secretary of State appears to have joined the critics. In an interview with The Atlantic magazine, Hillary Clinton placed the blame for the rise of ISIS on Obama, namely his refusal to equip and train Syria's rebels. Quote Clinton, "The failure to help build up a credible fighting force of the people who were the originators of the protest against Assad. There were Islamists, there were secularists, there was everything in the middle. The failure to do that left a big vacuum, which the jihadists have now filled," unquote. In that same interview, she rejected one of Mr. Obama's trademark mantras, "Don't do stupid stuff." Why does the Madam Secretary knock that Obama mantra in her Atlantic profile? Quote, "Great nations need organizing principles, and don't do stupid stuff is not an organizing principle," unquote. Question, why is Hillary Clinton seemingly no longer eager to share the limelight with President Obama as she did in that 60 Minutes interview? Is it a matter of principle, or is she reading the polls? Pat Buchanan.
I think it's belief on Hillary's part, and she's reading the polls. Obama's at 36% in foreign policy, as low as you can get. Hillary said that he failed to support the small d Democrats in Syria, and otherwise that the ISIS might not have taken over, and Barack Obama called that a synonym for horse manure. Hillary came out much stronger pro-Israel, much tougher on Iran than Barack Obama. What she is doing, John, she is staking her claim basically for the Democratic interventionist, neoconservative Democrat in the coming race. I think strategically she's making a bad mistake, because in the Democratic Party, the George McGovern, come home America, no more wars, focus on our own country. That thought, that sentiment is really almost dominant inside the Democratic Party, and she's inviting opposition in the primaries.
Well, I think this is the same fault line that emerged between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama in the '08 primaries. She's always been more of an interventionist than he has been. And of course, you know, don't do stupid stuff. David Axelrod, Obama's key advisor, tweeted, "Don't do stupid stuff," as in invading Iraq. By the way, Hillary Clinton supported that. So there is some tension, I think, between the two camps. But, you know, she's got to separate herself from the president. I think he understands that. But it's a little early for a general election campaign. I think she's misreading the polls to suggest, to think that this represents the Democratic Party. Obama's numbers may not be great overall, but Democrats still love him, and she's really kind of picked a fight here that she doesn't need this early in the game, and she's done it rather inartfully, which is the bigger problem as we gear up to watch her run, which I think she's almost certainly going to do.
Well stated. Tom.
Well, look, it's clear that Hillary Clinton is running for president in 2016. I know people don't want to say that yet, but it's obvious in the way that she's making these statements, deliberately entertaining a serious series of difficulties with the administration, not simply on this, but if you look at actually her book as well, the interesting counterside to the neocon line is that she's criticizing drones to a degree. So she's trying to have all these different elements of the Democratic Party getting behind her, but she's also trying to insulate herself from the criticism of the president because of what's happening in Iraq and Ukraine and elsewhere at the moment.
Was it a slip of the tongue on Hillary's part?
No, I think it was a deliberate move to try and, generate distinction between her and the president. Hillary Clinton is a politician who's been around for a long time. She knew what she was saying, and she knew the response.
How about her subsequent phone call to hug it out with Obama?
Look,
which happened, by the way.
I happened to have been at a dinner with her about 5 or 6 months ago. She said more or less the same thing then. I don't believe at all that she is doing this just for political reasons. This is what she genuinely believes. And if you look through the record in which she separated herself from the Obama administration, when she was Secretary of State, she had a much more robust and stronger line in terms of American foreign policy and the use of American forces to back up that policy. That's where she comes from. This is not just a political issue for her. I think that really degrades her real commitment to this. And when their politics weren't the issue, she was just as explicit and outspoken in small dinners.
But that hug it out, let me say that hug it out, that tells me that Hillary, and I agree with Eleanor here, Hillary, I think, on second thought she had moved too early and moved too far to separate herself from Barack Obama, and she doesn't want she's got her message out there and her position, but I think personally she does not want to be that far away from Obama as she is right now.
I think that is true. I mean, I had a piece this morning talking about exactly that. Both the president and Mrs. Clinton need each other to some degree going forwards. But I would agree with more to a degree. I think Hillary Clinton's issue is that she should have spoken up. And quite frankly, with the Syria situation, as serious as it was at the time, she probably should have left the administration then. I mean,
maybe, but she didn't want to go public with it when she was the Secretary of State and the president had a different policy. And I respect that too.
Okay, changing gears for a minute. Maude, you just returned from a unique visit to Israel and Gaza. Can you tell us who you went with and what you saw?
Well, I went with, amongst others, the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo. And several other public officials. But essentially what we did was to see the tunnels that the radicals have built coming from Gaza into Israel. And I tell you, it was like being in an empty version of the New York City subway system. I mean, there was a huge open room. By the way, they had both electricity and phone lines from it, and then they had a 3.5 mile, literally, tunnel. There were 25 feet of height in this thing, and it was supported with concrete. This was a huge effort on their part. Must have taken them a long time because there are another 33 tunnels like this. I don't know how in the world they did it without any major equipment. And they just over the years just dug it out. It is clearly going to be a platform for whatever attacks they anticipated making against the Israelis, but to see it is just staggering, because you can't imagine that people could build this without the kind of heavy equipment that you have, for example, when you're building a subway in New York City.
Does this create a big problem how to disenable the tunnels?
Yeah, it is certainly going to be a major problem. It may be the Israelis don't know if they have all of the tunnels. I mean, there are 33 of them. You can imagine this thing. Some of them go 3, 4, 5 miles because they extend further into what is now Israel, with the idea that they would come out of them and really attack local communities.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I will say that the Israelis, they all see this now, okay? They know how serious it is, and I think they're going to put much more military pressure on the radicals coming out of Gaza than they did before.
Did you tour any of the devastation in Gaza?
Yeah, I did. And there was, but the devastation, if I may, as you describe it, was attempted was created on the part of the Israelis to interdict the missiles flying out there. They were going after the missile targets and the missile launchers and where they were located. It wasn't just indiscriminate bombing, with all due respect.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of devastation.
There is always
that affects
devastation, and this is something that the radicals there were willing to absorb, okay? But Israel cannot sit there and say we're not going to respond to what is a huge attempt.
I'm not getting into a debate, I'm just asking.
No.
Here's the question. Is Hillary's foreign policy beat down of President Obama proof positive that she is running for president in 2016? Yes or no, Pat Buchanan?
It is perfectly consistent with a candidate for President of the United States.
It's another marker on the way to the campaign trail.
Tom?
Yeah, I think she is running. You know, everything, the book, the trying to play to different sides. But I think one interesting thing, just going back to what Mort was mentioning about her foreign policy consistency, one thing that she still talks about in positive terms is calling the Russian reset a stroke of brilliance. I find that staggering, and I think it introduces an interesting contrast with the counter side that she's offering now on Syria.
What?
Well, I think she is running. I'd be amazed if she doesn't run.
How are the book
I don't
sales?
think she's made. The book sales, I think, are below expectations. But
could this be a reason why she is doing some of this?
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. That is the last issue on her agenda. Yeah, but beyond that, okay, she's a very serious person and a very competent person, and she is a highly principled person, as far as I'm concerned, from everything I've ever seen her do or say and act on.
And there's no daylight between her and Israel. I mean, she's very strong on Israel.
I think the book is a big plus.
What's also interesting,
I managed to read good parts of it, and
it's good.
Of course, she's gone through exactly what we're going through in Israel today.
The only good review, John.
She's gone through that. What's that?
Yours is the only good review I've read.
That's not true.
She is very popular with.
Most of them just say it's blather.
Well,
it's written by a committee.
That's because they're looking for, scuttlebutt dirt.
It's not gossiping.
She's very good on analyzing situations.
Right.
To be fair to her, she's very popular with ex-military people, Stan McChrystal, Bob Gates, and that is
absolutely
true. So,
and I tell you, I was at a dinner with her with a lot of all foreign ministers, another 6 foreign ministers. She was the star. 3 of them were from the Arab world. She was the star that evening. She was unbelievably lucid. She was analytical.
Crucial vote, she got it wrong, and she admits she got it wrong, the vote for the war, and then she said, I supported the surge for political reasons. That's a statesman?
Look, I'm not going to debate this with you. I have known certain great politicians who've actually made mistakes. I don't know about you. I have never met anybody who's perfect. What?
Why don't you debate it with us?
Debate with her?
Debate with him.
But there's nothing to debate. He doesn't have a valid case.
Issue 2, another war in Iraq.
Over the past few days, American forces have successfully conducted targeted airstrikes to prevent terrorist forces from advancing on the city of Erbil and to protect American civilians there. Kurdish forces on the ground continue to defend their city, and we've stepped up military advice and assistance to Iraqi and Kurdish forces as they wage the fight against ISIL.
By supplying Kurdish forces with new weapons and sending 130 military advisors to assist them, President Obama has expanded America's military involvement in Iraq. And get this, on Wednesday, a U.S. military team landed on Mount Sinjar, where thousands of the Yazidi minority group remain trapped by ISIS. Last Saturday, however, the president insisted that America would not become embroiled in another Iraq war.
As Commander-in-Chief, I will not allow the United States to be dragged into fighting another war in Iraq. American combat troops will not be returning to fight in Iraq because there's no American military solution to the larger crisis there.
But on Thursday, the president told Americans to expect further military action in the weeks ahead.
Wherever we have capabilities and we can carry out effective missions like the one we carried out on Mount Sinjar without committing combat troops on the ground, we obviously feel a great urge to provide some humanitarian relief to the situation.